Hello there. It's December the 4th. It's Friday, and I'm here with Jonah. I've got Jonah here right now because I know you want to see him more than see me, which is just perfectly fine. But he doesn't really have the patience, and I think he's a bit camera shy, or he's become camera shy. I think he's become wise to what it is we're trying to do, so he's not as cooperative as you have been before, right? But anyway, we are here and we're happy to say hello to you on this Fridays with Father. I'll put him down now before I continue to say anything else. Anyway, we're in Advent as we know, and I spoke to you briefly about that last week, and I'm going to speak to you a bit more about it this week as well. One of my fondest memories really of Advent as a child, I think, was the Advent calendar, a simple Advent calendar that we had on the wall, and there was me and my three brothers. We would take it in turn each morning to open one of the little windows to see what was behind it, and it usually had a picture of an angel or a saint or a picture of Jesus or something, or one of the prophets, and it was just an exciting moment, a very simple morning. We'd do it before we would leave for school, but it was an exciting way to count down, if you like, or count up those days before Christmas. A very simple way, and in an unsophisticated way too. So if you don't have an Advent calendar, I recommend that you maybe think about having one. And even if you don't have one, counting the days now up to Christmas with an ordinary calendar is a good way, I think, of just marking that this time is special. So, you could just look at the calendar on each day, or check it off with a cross or something, and just say a small prayer. It could be a Hail Mary and say it for somebody. But a way of counting those days and making this time especially holy. As you'll see behind me, I've got an Advent calendar on the wall. And of course the first day was today, December. No, this last week was the first. This is the first week, of Advent. We're counting down, and so each day has a different window. But this Advent calendar, which was given to me by a very kind parishioner, this is a posh Advent calendar, and behind each little window, each is a chocolate or a piece of candy or something very, very nice. So you get a treat, as you open each day. So what I've been doing is that, even though there's a little chocolate behind it, I would open the window, and before I ate the chocolate, I'll be saying Hail Mary and say a special prayer for somebody, and then I'll move on. But again, it's these little things which enable us to ritualize the truths of our faith in a real way in our everyday life. It's so easy now just to get caught up with Christmas, and to get caught up with Santa Claus and everything else which is bombarded at us. But we don't have to do that. We have something better than that, really, which is celebrating Advent in a special way, up until Christmas, when we'll celebrate that with even bigger style and greater joy, I think. Okay, so the Advent calendar was something I always liked as a child, and I still like it to this day. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the Advent wreath, and I've got one here before you. 4 candles, 3 are purple, and 1 is pink, and they are arranged within a wreath, and the wreath is evergreen, green leaves, interspersed with seeds or berries, and I think is a very poignant, nice little custom for us to take on as we celebrate Advent this year. We have one in the church, and I got one here in my office, and I've got the first candle lit here, and it works this way, I suppose. The candles, there's 3 candles, and they're purple. First week, second week, and the 4th week. And the purple signifies kind of like royalty, the fact that, we're preparing in some ways for the coming of royalty, who is Jesus, who is the King of the universe, somebody we just celebrated on the feast of Christ the King, And also, purple is a sign of preparation, the work that we're doing, preparing for Jesus. Advent, I must say, is not a penitential season. We can confuse it sometimes with Lent, but it's not directly penitential. It's the time really where our preparation is more about opening our hearts to Jesus, and letting him in a bit and knowing what our need of him is. And one of the ways that we might prepare, for Christmas is by celebrating the sacrament of reconciliation. It's an opportunity to do that. But the season of Advent is not directly penitential. But the purple does talk to us about the work that we do on ourselves to celebrate Jesus when he comes into the world. Okay? As I mentioned last week, there are two distinct parts in Advent. The first half talks more about Jesus coming at the end of time to put everything right, to make us whole, and to gather us into his love. And the readings speak to us more about that, about Jesus' second coming as the Messiah. And then the second half speaks more explicitly about the birth of Jesus. It talks about the Virgin Mary and the prophecies of Jesus being born, So on the third Sunday of Advent, we have a pink candle, which we light. And that Sunday is called Gaudete Sunday, kind of like Rejoicing Sunday, when we take a moment off from our preparations to stop and rejoice and to really get into the spirit of what Christmas is going to bring us this year. So we have a pink candle. You'll see the priest at church on the third Sunday of Advent with a pink or rose vestment. And all of these things signal to us, rejoice. In spite of all your efforts and your hard work and all that, and because of, now is the time just to stop and say, rejoice. And take pleasure in knowing that Jesus' birth will be celebrated in 2 weeks' time. And then we continue to the fourth Sunday, and then of course it's Christmas. But lighting one of these Advent wreaths in your home is a nice idea. Maybe when you sit down to eat, or maybe when you sit down to watch TV together, light the candle. We've lit one, we'll light another now this coming Sunday, and so on and so forth. The wreath surrounding the candles. Two things, really. First of all, it's circular. It's not square, it's not rectangular, it's not a diamond. It's circular, meaning it doesn't have an end. It goes on and on and on, like any circle. Deliberately so, symbolizing, in some ways, like the eternity of Christ, the eternity of Jesus, and the eternity of faith. And that when we unite ourselves with Jesus, then our eternity is with him, ongoing, never ending. He is always with us. And that's very consoling for us. Secondly, the use of greens, evergreens, green leaves, green plants, fresh, speaks to us about life, speaks to us about something which is alive and vibrant, not something which is wilted and brown and dry. So I've got here a fresh wreath here, and it's beautiful, and it smells of fir, smells of spruce, and it really speaks to us about life. And evergreens, I think, are probably my favorite part of the Advent kind of season, because they speak to us about Jesus. In him we have life. Without him we have no life. Okay, so I think that's a kind of a special way to look at this, So the Advent wreath is another way for us to celebrate Advent this year. Finally, the other thing I wanted to say about Advent, maybe as a little spiritual exercise for you, For me, probably the richest bit about Advent are the readings which we listen to and which we proclaim during these 4 weeks of Advent, because they're very enriching, very enlivening, and they speak to us about God's promises in Jesus and how God will always honor those promises. And if we stick to him, everything will be fine. And some of the prophecies from Isaiah, they're so poetic, They talk to us about the lion sleeping with the lamb and all those different things. All the things you'd expect not to happen are now possible because of, guess who? Jesus. So I would bring your attention to the readings throughout Advent, And I would put a small challenge to you, because I put it to myself, is on every Sunday during Advent, listen extra careful, just to see what words stand out for you. It may be a phrase, maybe a sentence, What actually makes an impact on your soul as you listen to the word proclaimed? And then as you do that, make a note of it and pray those words throughout the week. So for example, as I'm preparing now for this coming Sunday, I've looked at the readings. When I was reading through the readings from this coming Sunday, the initial words from the reading from Isaiah stood out for me. And it just says, "Comfort my people. Oh, comfort my people, says God." And then it goes on to sort of say what's going to happen. That a voice will cry out in the wilderness, "Prepare the way of the Lord." It speaks to me of comfort in knowing that Jesus is coming, that Jesus is here, and that Jesus will fix everything in us that needs to be fixed, and fix everything in the world that needs to be fixed. We need to comfort ourselves with those and comfort each other with those words. And what do I mean by comfort? I think to comfort somebody is to know that in spite of everything, there is a truth here which is bigger than what my fear may be, or my anxiety might be, or my pain might be. So for example, in spite of the fact that I feel lonely, I am comforted to know that Jesus loves me. That's kind of a simple example, but there's a truth there. And to know those truths and to remind each other of those truths, I think is to comfort each other with words of faith. So in spite of the fact that we are really in a cloud with this COVID virus and we're all slightly afraid, Jesus will make it right. Jesus will put this right, and we'll be able to move along. This will come to an end. Jesus will do it. All those different things. So I think that those few words, "Comfort my people," "Comfort, says the Lord," they're just powerful words which stood out to me from reading the readings we're going to have this coming Sunday. Now I'm taking those words and I'm going to be praying them every day, turning them over in my mind, bringing them to me just before I go to bed, and just, thinking, well, where do they fit into my life? Where do they fit into the world? And you will see just how fruitful that makes your daily prayer as you just meditate in a very simple way, words which are very, very profound. So I just give you that as maybe a slight little Advent challenge. Listen to the readings this coming Sunday, whether you're at Mass or not at Mass. You can find them online and you can read them. What are the words which stand out for you? And we can touch bases on them again next week. Okay? So there are my 3 points: the Advent calendar, the Advent wreath, and the richness of the Word of the God. Don't lose the opportunity. Don't miss the opportunity to enjoy this first week and second week of Advent, because they're very rich and life-giving to us all. But for now, I shall bid you farewell. Jonah's on the floor, slightly anxious. I think he probably needs to eat. Hopefully I'll see some of you at the Holy Hour today. We have at 6:30 in the evening. Still chance for you to come and join us before Jesus and have some quiet time and some prayer time with everybody else in a socially distanced way. If not, I'll see you at Mass on Sunday, okay? For the time being, take care. God bless. Cheers.